We welcome you to our Sunday morning roundtable discussion. Today is Sunday, July 30th, 2017. Our subject is love. The golden text, 1 John. God is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him. And we will start now with our prayer, which Bruce will read.
Mrs. Eddy's prayer given at the Massachusetts Metaphysical College. O my God, I offer as a consecrated gift upon thine altar a heart dedicated to thy service, lips speaking only words of charity, love, and truth, thoughts striving to be only the true thoughts of the mind of God. Help me to endure unto the end, strong in the faith, powerful in the truth, all the influence that I can bring to bear, all the force of tongue or pen that is mine, I offer in thy service. May heaven help, consecrate, and accept.
And then miscellaneous writings. We today in this classroom are enough to convert the world if we are of one mind, for then the whole world will feel the influence of this mind, as when the earth was without form, and mind spake, and form appeared. We're going to start today. Elsie had something very important she's going to read to us.
This comes from a pamphlet that originated in a book by Helen Wright. She was a practitioner in the state of Washington, and she's written several books, but she started this one book with this statement. Once upon a time, there were 4 people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. There was an important job to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have.
Oh, dear. I thought that was so funny. And it certainly explains mortal mind, doesn't it? Well, Helen Wright must have had a very good sense of humor, so. Okay. Well, thank you, Elsie.
Goes along with the lesson, too, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And I was very happy on the forum. Our rather new person, Ray, in Florida, found 2 beautiful statements from Proseworks, 2 of my favorite. And I was very, very happy to see her becoming alive to the beautiful quotes, the beautiful statements Mrs. Eddy makes in Proseworks. You've been hearing them read on Wednesday, which is why we do read from Proseworks. And so it's very important, as we've talked about, each day you read a little from Science and Health, a little from Proseworks, a little from the Bible, chronologically. We stay grounded in those works by Mrs. Eddy, and then all the other wonderful, quote, unauthorized literature that we have, we find helpful as well. But it's Mrs. Eddy's works that we stay grounded in. So this morning I'm going to have Gary read one of these that she posted on the forum.
Because of a recent roundtable recommendation, I began to study Proseworks. No one ever told me that it was like a field book for students. I found this helpful passage today. I wanted to share in gratitude for all Plainfield Church does to bless all. Quote, When a hungry heart petitions the divine Father, Mother, God for bread, it is not given a stone, but more grace, obedience, and love. If this heart, humble and trustful, faithfully asks divine love to feed it with the bread of heaven, health, holiness, it will not be conformed to a fitness it will be conformed to a fitness to receive the answer to its desire. Then will flow into it the river of his pleasure, the tributary of divine love, and great growth in Christian science will follow, even that joy which finds one's own in another's good. To love and to be loved, one must do good to others. The inevitable condition whereby to be blessed is to bless others. But here you must so know yourself under God's direction that you will do his will, even though your pearls be downtrodden. Ofttimes the rod is his means of grace. Then it must be ours. We cannot avoid wielding it if we reflect him. Miscellaneous Writings, page 127.
Thank you. Any comments on that?
Well, the first is we have to get rid of every preconceived notion of what love is and recognize that love is divine. And if we're going to love, we must reflect God's will. And just like the rule for motives and acts, sometimes that means to rebuke sin. Sometimes it means to do something that may not appear to be, quote, loving.
This aspect of love is very important to understand. I was reading this morning in Collectani where Mrs. Eddy says, "If you watch me carefully when I am rebuking you, you will see that I am only voicing to you audibly what the mental malpractitioner is arguing to you mentally, and you are asleep to." That's what a right and true rebuke is. And she also says, when you know yourself, then you are able to know others and know what's afflicting them. But think of that, a rebuke, and that's how I feel when I rebuke. There's a voice talking to this person that is not of God, and they're asleep to it. And therefore, the only thing that you can do is rebuke that voice, the mesmeric voice of animal magnetism. And if they take the rebuke correctly, the voice will dissipate and they will be free of it. But it is our duty, and it is certainly an aspect of love with a capital L, to do this.
But if they take that error personally and think that it's them, they will react to the rebuke, not in a good way.
Or if they hear about a rebuke and or see someone getting rebuked, they will, that's so awful. That person is just so mean, and that's not right. That's not loving. And they've personalized it, and then in some ways, they've tried to undermine the rebuke. You've got to let it go and do its work. And if you react to this, why do they react to the rebuke, if they do?
Only pride.
Yes?
It also reached the same error in them.
Exactly. It's the error in them. And so that error cries out, "Leave me alone. What have I to do with thee? Leave me alone." They don't want to hear it. And it is pride, but it's the error in them. So,
but when this has happened, then sometimes I'll get like, well, it sounds as if you're angry or something, not in exact words, but a reaction comes and it's explained, some humbly accept it, and that makes a difference. And I guess some go off. That's it.
It's very, very true. And anyone who is to be of worth in this church has to be able to take rebukes. Otherwise, you know, it's impossible.
Otherwise, you're a channel for the devil.
Yeah.
Pure and simple.
It's the difference between divine love, which the rebuke is, and human love.
Thank you, Fairly.
But also, that is the accusation of those who are offended by it. They say, that person's angry. Correct rebuke is never given out of anger. It may come across very strong. After all, God is omnipotent. But it is not anger, which is a human emotion out of control. It's a huge difference that needs to be made.
Absolutely. And this is how Mrs. Eddy gave rebukes, which she did. And this is how some people interpreted it as anger. And this is why we've been reading What Prospers Healing by Keaston, because the human biographies about her, including the Peel books, portray her that way, while the divine biographies by Carpenter portray her in her right light. This is an extremely important point that scientists have to understand, and for some reason they do not want to, or they fail to, or they have been not taught correctly, but because it has been so lost, partly due to the decline in science, which leads me to my next point. In this beautiful quote from Miscellaneous Writings, thank you, Ray, it talks about a hungry heart petitioning the Father. Okay, so first your heart has to be hungering for this truth. And then it is not given a stone, but more grace, obedience, and love. If this heart, humble and trustful, faithfully asks divine love to feed it with the bread of heaven, health, holiness, it will be conformed to a fitness to receive the answer to its desire. Then will flow into the river of his pleasure, the tributary of divine love, and great growth in Christian science will follow, even that joy which finds its own in another's good. So, if you ask the Father for the things, not, Father, I want a new house, not, Father, I want, this physical problem to be healed by tomorrow, not this to-do list, but petitioning it with hunger to know more of him, to be more godlike. That allows his power, his strength, his supreme love for you to come pouring forth. And she says in this, it is evident, it will be made evident in more holiness. Also health. It's right that you have a healthy body. But it comes from your desire to know God. And it will not be turned. It will not be given a stone. We have a loving Father who blesses us. Now, Elsie also, she sent me.
Well, the other thing to be aware of, if you honestly go to God with a hungry heart, your heart is going to be conformed to a fitness to receive it.
The meekness that allows the conformity.
Thank you.
Thank you. We all have some amount of pride. Okay? If you honestly and humbly go to God with a hungry heart, he's going to burn that pride out of you. It's not going to feel good when it gets burned, but it will conform your heart to receive what God has for you. So don't be surprised if you go through and Mrs. Eddy calls it a chemicalization. Don't be surprised if you start getting weird feelings and get your feelings hurt and strange experiences happen. Your heart is being conformed to receive the blessing that God has for you.
And sometimes things do get worse before they get better. So don't be surprised if that happens. You're being tested. You want to know more of God. Well, the first problem that comes up, you go flying out the room screaming bloody murder. You've got to stand in the face of it, knowing your truth.
Well, I'm thinking there are a couple of distinctions, though. One is, our focus shouldn't be first and foremost to kind of make ourselves better. I think first and foremost is we want to be blessing others and being obedient to God. And really last comes ourselves in terms of, I want something better. I don't know how to articulate that, but
Well,
Exactly.
Yeah,
No,
that's,
exactly.
and that is in this as well. But yes, if you try to make yourself better, someone this week sent me an email all the ways she was trying to make herself better, but there was no God in that. You're not trying to make yourself better. You were trying to get yourself out of the way and letting God work through you. And that, yes, it requires obedience and unself purpose. That's how you become better. Excuse me, go ahead.
No, that's why it says, but it's not given a stone, but more grace, obedience, and love. And then it goes on.
Yes.
That is a huge point. Can anybody make themselves better? Really? Who's going to step into God's shoes? Go through this process that way. It doesn't work that way.
I tried for years, and I can tell you it does not work. I had no idea what I was doing wrong. I made a list of all the things I needed to do. I thought they were good things, give a testimony, come to church, do this, do that. But it was all this human endeavor to make myself better. No, you're right, Tom. It's not about that.
and doesn't it also kind of destroy, in a way, this sort of prosperity Christianity, where you pray for something, and because you're a child of God, you do the right thing, you will get it.
It does.
It destroys it entirely. Exactly.
Something that is very different in this independent church is learning that if you have a problem or something to overcome, when you're working with the truth, you're overcoming that problem for the world. You're just blowing it out of the water, not just for yourself.
Yes, absolutely, and you should be. You don't just pray that you get healed of something or whatever, but you're praying it for all mankind. And when you overcome anything, any disease, any problem, sin, disease, death, when you overcome it, you've overcome it for all mankind. Yes, thank you. Every right thought goes forth and helps to purify the world, which is why all of this work is so important. This time we spend together in unity is so important. It's going out to help purify the world, whether people tune into it or not. It's still operating. It's still working. It's the leaven of truth working. Thank God for those who do tune in.
So if I may, I had a second distinction. So, I'm thinking that, okay, so I should, okay, so maybe I have some problem or something that bothers me or something. I still have to be joyful in God. I can't let that get me down or paralyze me from taking action. And I can't sit there and condemn myself for it because I seem to have some weakness. Maybe somehow I can articulate this better, but we just can't be like beating ourselves up and because something doesn't seem to be working out right. We somehow have to manage through this. That we're feeling blessed by God, no matter how it seems out there.
Okay, any comments on that?
Yes, I think I know what he's saying. After getting to know Plainfield and understanding more what the true science is, I still had fear for many other years, but it seemed like something else had taken over. So the desire for the truth, I just couldn't stop reading. I couldn't stop listening to what's going on here in their lessons and so on. And I think after a while, that desire to know God takes over, and then the fear or whatever problem you think you might have goes to the back, to the back, to the back, until I don't even know when I stop being afraid.
Thank you very much. And always, in any of these situations, Era wants you to focus on the problem. You focus on God. If you're focusing on the problem, you'll beat yourself up. You'll think about the problem. You'll think about all the things you've done wrong, whatever. If you're focusing on God and being grateful for Him and how God's going to lead you through this, those voices will stop.
So. And what's the principle behind all that? Why do the voices stop?
They're not true to begin with. I mean, they're not mine.
Yeah, because the problem that's going to try to get you down or try to get you to lose your joy, the problem is an illusion. It is not God's creation. That's why we have to be so aware of mesmerism and so not receptive to propaganda. I mean, propaganda takes a lot of different forms, but it's all around us, trying to mesmerize us into thinking that some things are real that are not real. And that's why gratitude for God is part of the remedy for overcoming whatever does come to you that seems to be a problem. I mean, what did Jesus do when he was faced with Lazarus' death?
God.
He thanked God.
Thank God that God had heard him and always would hear him. Because pardon me?
Yeah.
Before
He told Lazarus to,
yes.
Come out of the tomb.
And that's what we do, because then you're aligning yourself up with the truth, and you're denying the mesmeric belief that's telling you all these things. And if you're ever feeling condemnation, that is never of God. Never of God. God does not condemn. If you have done something wrong, as we've talked about, you ask forgiveness of him, anyone else, and you promise to change your ways, and then you mean it and you do it, and it's over. And if you keep getting thoughts of condemnation, then that's the devil, and you have to say, "Get thee behind me, Satan," and mean it.
I think it's in the 1936 primary class. Bicknell Young says condemnation is damnation.
Yes, everlasting punishment. It's all those things. And if you indulge in it, what it tries to do, and it's the work of animal magnetism trying to stop your work for God, your testimony. If you just sit and beat yourself, it's old theology. Sit and beat yourself and say how horrible you are. It can also be an excuse for not going forward. What if Saul had done that? What would have happened if Saul just beat himself? Oh, I killed Christians. I'm just a lousy, no good sinner.
Probably would have stayed blind.
And become Paul and do all the work he did.
Exactly right. So remember that. We all have this. We all have things in our past. We made mistakes. So get over it.
Saul had a genuinely hungry heart, and he had an honesty.
I like the lesson. For me, it's doing a lesson in the morning is part of that gratitude, knowing self and thanking God. And that's why it's so important. And our lessons are so beautiful and help us do that so well.
Thank you, Jardy. Jardy is always expressing gratitude.
Oh, our lessons are fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, when I was growing up, they totally confused me, and I never got them. And I thought there must be something wrong with me. And I just didn't. You know, I didn't grow up with plain sales lessons, by the way.
Well, I didn't either, and I used to feel that way too. When I was growing up in the Boston affiliated churches and reading their lessons, I had that same feeling. A lot of my friends had that same feeling. Terrible feeling.
And now with the Bible studies too, the Old Testament is just opening up with so many lessons. You can see where Arrow would like us not to study the Bible, because it has all the lessons. I don't think there's anything that has been, that we are confronted with, even on a daily basis, that the Bible does not deal with and tell you how to deal with it. But if you never open it, or if you just think, oh, it doesn't apply to modern times, well, then you miss the blessing. And to me, that only means that we speak of it more, we glorify it more. We don't just agree with that line of thought.
Thank you for that. Because so many times after a Bible study, learning, something, I've thought, I've sort of been annoyed. I read the Bible as a kid in churches and wasn't taught any of that. I really could have used that knowledge through my life. Could have avoided so many traps. So, thank you.
And so in this lesson, we have this beautiful story. I don't think it's ever been in any lesson that I remember. And so briefly, what is it, and what is the lesson we learned from it?
King David took in King Saul's grandson and gave him back King Saul's land and treated him well, gave him a place at his table. Blessing them.
And this was after King Saul, as king, tried several times to kill David, hunted him. David never returned evil for evil.
And David was very sorry at Saul's demise.
Yes, he understood, or he felt he wasn't clamoring to become king. He waited for God to promote him, which is a wonderful lesson of this story. He didn't want to kill Saul and become king. He waited for things to play out.
Of course, Saul's son, Jonathan, was a close friend and supporter of David. So
They had that great love.
Yeah. And David saw God at work. God was protecting David. Jonathan was helping David. He could see God at work. He was patiently waiting to see God's plan unfold. He never allowed himself to hate. He was genuinely sad that Saul didn't, turn around and become, and stay. He was genuinely sad that Jonathan, died.
Yeah, it said in the Bible that their souls were knit together with their love for each other. And I wrote on the forum where Mrs. Eddy says that the two great miracles in life are what?
Friendship.
Affection and unbroken friendship. And and unbroken friendship. So you think about that, and this was, David was still, after all these years, looking for ways that he could bless Jonathan. Jonathan had passed on, as had his father. And he found a way. So think in your own experience. We should be in the blessing business, and not in a do-goody way, but as God directs you. What people has God brought into your life that you can bless, as God directs you to? Or even maybe someone that is no longer here on this earth. Is there someone, some relative or something that you can bless? It's a beautiful story of love. And every time I read what Mrs. Eddy writes about unbroken friendship, it almost always brings me to tears, because we know of all the betrayal that she endured, people turning on her after all she did was love them. And that's also spoken to in what was read this morning on miscellaneous writing, where your pearls be downtrodden, but you still love. That's proof that you have divine love. Even when not nice things are done to you, you can still separate that error from the situation and still continue to love. Human love would say, I love you today, but I hate you tomorrow. Human love says, I love my own kids, but to hell with my neighbors.
And love gets offended when it doesn't get its own way.
It does.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Hi, it's Betty. I don't exactly know what question I want to ask, but I just hearing what you're saying, and something needs to happen with me to find God and to reach out in the right way, because it seems like, as you earlier said, I've done and tried to improve myself, and I just can't. I can't do it. It's not really working, and I'm not sure what to do. And something just happened with a friend where it didn't go what he was comfortable with, and so he had to leave. And I'm not even sure how to be a good friend. And I just need to reach out, and I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure how to do it. And I'm not even sure, or I feel like I'm not actually feeling God in me or with me, and I need to know what to do to get there, and to not feel guilty about what I've done or not done. And most of those things might be things that I haven't done or not known how to do. Things seem very confusing in the world with what this country's doing to other countries, and this friend is very aware of that. That had something to do with the leaving a moment ago. And I'm aware of it, and I don't know what my part as a citizen is in view of things that are going on. And I know it's charity starts at home, and I'm hardly feeling that. So maybe I'm asking for guidance and direction and how to do what y'all are talking about doing, because I know you have the word on this.
So we have two fine practitioners, and I'm sure one of them would be very happy to help you.
Okay.
But part of it is, don't feel like you have to reach out.
Uh-huh.
Get your thought right, and God will bring people to you and provide you with opportunities to do for others.
I'm trying to, but I have to do something or not do something to get the thought right. Because what happens in the brain head isn't it.
I would say you work with You've been given a lot to work with, but you've got to do it. You work with what was given this morning, miscellaneous writings, page 127. When a hungry heart petitions the divine Father, Mother, God for bread, it is not given a stone. You haven't done that. Not really. You really do it. You take just that one paragraph that we read, and you work with that, and you do it. And it will change your life. This is not accretion, it's unfoldment. And when you get more and more thoughts, I need another thought, I need to be told something more. No, you need to work with the thoughts that have been given. What we've talked about all morning answers all your questions. But you've got to do it. You can't just say it.
Here's a thought, something to consider is, sometimes I can feel like I'm overly worried about something. And so I'll go read an article, and frankly, every word is meaningless to me, okay? Because maybe I'm just too worried. So it doesn't matter how much or what I read. It all seems meaningless. Now, so I would say two things. One is you don't give up, so just keep reading. So sometimes if it doesn't feel like it's doing anything, just keep on reading. Don't give up. Second is try a change up, okay? And there are songs posted, but instead of reading, go listen to a hymn. See on the website and start listening to some music. So it's different than just reading. Anyway, that's just a couple thoughts.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much.
Also, I think going to, if you have access to a computer, and like in the weekly lesson this week, Samuel on that beautiful story, is go read Matthew Henry, and it gives you a deeper perspective of all that's going on. Because, for example, David not only had great forgiveness, but he had great faith in God because he didn't fear retribution from Saul's offspring. He knew that he was protected by God, so he was able to forgive them without worrying about his own safety. So all those little things help you overcome those fears, and we all go through them and still go through them, and then it's turning to the Word of God through the Bible or Mary Baker Eddy or Matthew Henry or wherever. Just keep, like Tom said, just keep seeking and reading, and like Mrs. Singletary said, keep fighting those ideas with truth.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
We have to ask God to our heart to receive the blessing, because if you don't, you just have a wall up and you're not letting the truth come through. Thank you.
It's also helpful to just be quiet and say the Lord's Prayer, and then just be quiet and try to connect with God.
Thank you, Fairly.
And when you do that, the answers that you get will be they'll be complete answers. In other words, they won't be political answers. Politics is never the answer. They will be answers that will give you a sense of peace about yourself and compassion for others, in spite of all the crap that appears to be going on.
Oh my God.
You have to remember, Jesus lived in the Roman Empire. I mean, that was one of the worst times of all. He didn't speak politically. He said, render unto Caesar's the things that are Caesar's. He went around healing the sick, raising the dead. He went around knowing this truth. Politics is a huge distraction.
Now this is the worst times that are going on like that time. What this
we
time
always
doing,
say it's the worst.
Worst of times, it's also the best of times,
Yes.
Betty.
That's right. We'll quote.
Yeah.
I know it's like a dividing line. Like, which side are you going to be on?
Well, be on God's side.
That's the only side.
That is the only side. If you see two sides to anything, then you're looking at it incorrectly.
I do.
Yeah. God has an answer of peace for every one of us. And go ahead.
No, Thursday's watch was very good, so it could help if you don't have it.
I do have it. Thank you, Florence. I do subscribe to it. Thank you.
And doing these watches on a regular basis helps. It's keeping your slate clean so you don't get overwhelmed with all of the things that are going on. You're constantly cleansing your thought and knowing the truth about it. But if you don't do it, then you're always going to be back in the soup again. So you've got to do it, like the Nike sign says. Do it.
And know that God governs. God governs this world.
I think what Fairley said, just keep repeating what you know, the Lord's Prayer, because when I get into a really sticky bind, if I can go back to that simple truth, or as my practitioner pointed out, just keep repeating, God is love. God loves me. God loves them. God loves me. God loves them. And that does bring you peace, but you just got to just repeat the simple things until you can move to the little bit more difficult concept. But God always works.
It's like their friend said that he didn't want to hear anything from any kind of preachers that preach Christianity or peace when that's going out and killing people all over the world and destroying things in the Middle East and so forth. And I'm like aware of that. And it caused him a problem, so he had to leave. So, and
well,
I think one thing
so
that you need to hold to is that you are not alone. Everyone at this round table has been through problems and struggles, and everyone has overcome them. So there is hope, there is encouragement. Everyone at this round table is encouraging you.
Thank you.
Don't fall for the lie. And
Okay.
you can't, because I know for one thing, everyone at this round table knows God is. And I don't think you have any doubt that there is a God.
Right.
So you just hold to Him. He's guiding you, He's guarding you, He's talking to you, and you just need to be still, as someone said, and listen. And everything truly is already all right.
Thank you for talking like this, because in the, quote, regular church, like, all I seem to be able to do is go on to say, small talk and everything's fine, and it's not fine, Like, I don't hear, in the regular church, as y'all said, I don't hear anybody addressing these important facts and challenges. So there could be friends in there, but it's like, who can I talk to? How can I talk to? And so thank you all for saying you've been through similar things and overcome and broken through.
And all this political stuff is a distraction. It's animal magnetism trying to distract us from focusing on God. God is the truth. It's the fact. It's the basis. It's the cornerstone. That's it. And anything that would distract us from that, it's animal magnetism. And are we going to give it power?
No, but it's like the battle between the light and the dark, and that which is trying to fight the powers of God or whatever.
Well,
and destroy stuff. And
last week's lesson with the prophet Micaiah, I mean, I think it was maybe hundreds of prophets or whatever. They all agreed with the king. So that seemed like the majority. That's the crowd. That's what everybody's doing. That's what you should be doing. But Micaiah, he didn't do that. And he was in the majority. and he was right. So think about that. So if it feels like we're all alone, the guy could have felt he was all alone, but he really wasn't alone.
That's what we talked about last week too, the masses and the remnant. But in the
Yeah.
lesson, there is one statement in Science and Health. The good you do and embody gives you the only power obtainable. That is a fact. It is the truth. Therefore, anything else that seems to have power that is not good is an illusion, Betty. And that's the truth. Therefore, whatever you want to call it, a congressman, a president, whatever you want to call it, the only power they have is to do good. The only power they have is to bless you. That is a fact. It's a statement of Christian Science. You have to stand with it. You have to know it's true, and you will bring it into your experience proportionably to the occupancy in your thought. That's what you have to do, Betty. And if you go around with all this other stuff, you will just, as I said, you will continue to swirl around in the soup. Christian Science takes strength. It takes the power from on high in order to vanquish error. If you are unwilling to do it, you will continue like this. I speak from my own experience. I went on for years like this. Finally, I had to say enough already. I love it in Linda's forum where she quoted the churchmen of Mrs. Eddy's time. Mrs. Eddy is speaking. She said they were heroes in strife. They armed quickly, they aimed deadly, and they spared no denunciations. And I pray to God to be that example as well. You arm quickly, you aim deadly, and you spare no denunciations. That's what you do when error speaks. You cannot continue to talk to it, to listen to it, to think it has any power. I just read that one sentence. The only power there is the power to bless, the power of good. If you're going to name the name of Christian Science, you've got to know that and live it and feel it in your heart. And that is the power that will destroy and vanquish evil. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
You're
you very much.
Some of you might not know that Betty's been with us quite a long time, not always as an active participant, but she's been with us for quite some time, and we love her, and it is right that she be free of this tormenting suggestions. And sometimes with tormenting suggestions, what needs to be done is a 2x4. It's a get thee behind me, Satan. We had started this roundtable off with talking about the importance of rebuking. It is a sweet amenity of love, as Mrs. Eddy says in the Rule for Motives and Acts. The first one, the Christian Scientist, reflects the sweet amenities of love in rebuking sin in true brotherliness, charitableness, and forgiveness. And so it must be. And if we ever have a problem that's troubling us, we must be willing to rebuke the error. It's never person, but the error must be rebuked. I would also like to thank you all for your very helpful comments. I'm sure that helped Betty a great deal. So thank you all.
Let's see, I think we will end today with this other quote that was posted on the forum that Ray put up from miscellaneous writing. And I will have Barry.
Miscellaneous Writings, page 250. Love is not something put upon a shelf, to be taken down on rare occasions with sugar tongs and laid on a rose leaf. I make strong demands on love, call for active witnesses to prove it, and noble sacrifices and grand achievements as its results. Unless these appear, I cast aside the word as a sham and counterfeit, having no ring of the true metal. Love cannot be a mere abstraction, or goodness without activity and power. As a human quality, The glorious significance of affection is more than words. It is the tender, unselfish deed done in secret, the silent, ceaseless prayer, the self-forgetful heart that overflows, the veiled form stealing on an errand of mercy, out of a side door, the little feet tripping along the sidewalk, the gentle hand opening the door that turns toward want and woe, sickness and sorrow, and thus lighting the dark places of the earth. Mary Baker Eddy.
Thank you. So this week and always, you can ask yourself, what more can I do to love? Whether it's some of these descriptions we just heard from our leader, whether it's fiercely rebuking error, how more can you love? Whether it's doing a heartfelt watch. Every day we have these opportunities to love more, and love is the answer. Love is the liberator, but it is a tough love that will not allow error to continue. So thank you all. We will go on and have a wonderful service.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.